Abusua ye mama kwa babiem eba issues 233 so. Enne ye sign akọ eye Ato Forson, Dr. Ato Forson. Yes, minority leader or ye former deputy finance minister. One Richard Jakpa, any the state, the attorney general. Ejina court efa ambulance nsensem ho. Onse nansen I say afi no mukọ court na a drew cross examination of Richard Jakpa no. Afi de na won TNDC fo nka biemu won tese afi omo ye press conference ni ade ne court enzenzem no ene omusan akuhia e wo court onza asem na e wo court ntisi ye kiremu a eduru ba bia na ye de niam ni bi asiesie kakra na ene omukopie mu e wo court no surprisingly cross examination of Richard Jakpa no onse judge na ote asem nim no advice say Anke beya the Attorney General Godfred Dame anka on rescue ne self kakra what I say emotwen ho kakra ama afi na ne deputy Alfred Tia yeboa and afi no ye cross examination ne surprisingly ne Godfred Dame ebe pie mu e wo court na nsem ho okọ UK a okọ kasa wo ho within the weekend the kra be ne okopie mu e wo court no okopie mu e wo court no na ne ye chese abusuafo Richard Jakpa se mobe kaya onse onu ankasa no ye military man wo Ghana ameduru baby military no so ja you so muyi ne dio ne letter no ye de beto so ne letter omudi yi ne di nyina no ebe pie mu wo court ho na letter no emunsem ni bi enie sa wo hwe letter ya dated 12 September 2007 Army Headquarters Bema Camp and just a reference number no so edaso now also released from service for unsatisfactory conduct Lieutenant R. Jakpa GH 2899 and the letter no ene daso no na letter no ema beye 6 points as a brigadier general for a chief of the army staff a MKG ahiaglo ono na just sign kratai na enye no nko ene pie mu e wo court ho ene cross examination no e koso na ene Richard Jakpa ejitu mu se ampa ambulance ya NDC fo omo time omo kraba Ghana just say ambulance no na yesi ye empty car empty sprinter cars just afi na niema no omo de beba na no so omo abehihye no ambulance nim nente say ne MPP for de ba na nsen over 300 ambulance omo ma every constituency bi a say eno e ba na mu dwan bibia wom dada nente saa no ogitu mu ene e wo court say sa ambulance yi ogi ne commission 700,000 euros. Hey! Ghana, ebe 700,000 euros. And I just say, oji. Na ebusuya, wodie, near course, ewo court, no, see a court, no, as she say, Tuesday, asem no, ombesan atuaso. Abra Godfred Dame, the Attorney General, ne onwa take over. To a cross examination, no so no. Tuesday ombetoaso na omuwie ye no enede no omuwie ye no sei ena Richard Jakpa onensa ntrofo ya twetwe nkomo no ensem na odi tudwa no ebini yenko ni yenko tie ne mra yenko ni yenko tie Richard Jakpa emra.
I want to correct some misconception and mischief that is the Attorney General and the government have created and using their surrogate media houses to be peddling falsehoods, twisting proceedings of the court, and then bringing out evidence that I have no idea about and trying to put it on me. I want to address that. The Attorney General brought a pile of documents to the court about my military career. I left the military about 17 years ago. Now, he brought a document purporting that I have committed certain crimes according to the letter. In fact, that letter, I was not copied. I have no knowledge of that letter. And that letter are allegations that are unsubstantiated, unfounded, and I was never confronted with it by the military 17 years ago. And that letter is purported to have been written by one Brigadier General Ahiaglo.
You know him?
In fact, I know Brigadier General Ahiaglo. He's dead. He's deceased years ago. And he wrote that letter on behalf of the Chief of Army Staff, who was by then Major General Odote. So Brigadier General Ahiaglo was a staff officer to the Chief of Army Staff. So he wrote on behalf of the Chief of Army Staff. So this unfounded allegation that I was never confronted with, I was never made known of, a secret report document that they wrote to the Chief of Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces, who reports to the Chief of Defense Staff, the CDS. I have no knowledge about it. In fact, today is the first day I saw that letter, dated, I think, 22nd or so of 2007, about 17 years ago. Now, in that letter that I have no idea about, they claim I consistently engage in fraudulent conduct. And when you use the word consistent, it means I didn't engage in fraudulent conduct once, several. Yet the military that I know will not countenance such a behavior once, even for it to become consistent, without charging you, trying you, whether by your commanding officer or appropriate superior authority or by a court martial. I've never even gone on an interview on it. I have no knowledge of all those, that such a letter had been written by 7 military officers in order to get me out of the military without my knowledge. I was not made known about that.
But why didn't you make it clear to the court when you were confronted with the document?
I was never given the opportunity. In fact, the Attorney General was so mischievous that he presented a document, asked me to read it per the court rules. I read it, and then after reading it, he jumped into a different area so that I wouldn't have the opportunity to dissect that letter and expose the mischief and the unfounded allegation and the secret diabolical letter that was written in order to paint me black when I was in the armed forces during the MPP's time when they were in power in 2007.
Was that document not part of the disclosures made?
No, it was not part of disclosure. It was just brought today to the court. And in fact, that document has nothing to do with the ambulance case as we are dealing with now, at all.
But you understand they want to undermine your credibility. That's what they are doing. And prosecution is allowed to do that.
I agree. You do that, but then you do that with substantiated, incontrovertible evidence. Not someone who has written a secret document about someone and the person was never confronted. He has no knowledge about it to even defend himself or to even speak to that particular those allegations 17 years ago. And the surprising thing about the whole of that document was that what that letter was alleging was not upon which I was released from the service. That's even the surprising thing about it. I was released under a clause in our Armed Forces Administration Volume. It's a law, which states that I am being released for lack of application or interest. Lack of application or interest has nothing to do with misconduct and service terminated, which is purely under the discretion of the CDS of the Ghana Armed Forces. So I was not dismayed, I was not released out of misconduct. In fact,
were you released out of indebtedness to several people and institutions, which is part of what you read in Open?
Not at all. In fact, the release quoted the clause in the Armed Forces Administration law, quoted it clearly. And in that law, it talks about lack of application or interest, service terminated, and I was paid all my gratuity fully. The armed forces paid my gratuity fully. And also, in the release, there was an arrangement for the armed forces to bear the full cost of transportation of all my household, which, as we speak now, they have not even paid it to me.
Now, if you look at the document that I was confronted with, do you feel hurt? Does it hurt your case?
No, not at all. In fact, it's a diversionary tactics employed by the Attorney General trying to discredit my credibility because he had engaged himself in criminal conduct and trying to coerce me to commit a crime by implicating Honorable Ato Forson and answering questions to make his case good in court. And also procure a dubious fake excuse duty to deceive the court.
And you say you were as fit as fiddle?
Yes, to deceive the court. And as at the time he was impressing upon me to procure a fake excuse duty to deceive the judge and the court so he could travel, I was as fit as a fiddle. So I couldn't lie to the court. So I refused.
Why didn't you go to the police station and make the report straight away?
Oh, that is yet to be done because the evidence is still there. And I will wish to remind you, crime against the state has no expiry date. So at any time of my convenience, I can go.
Abushana Richie Japan Suye na NNE Sami Jemfi of the NDC or non so Ebijans and Drofu enim no say ne mohuni your course wo court. She still baby ye jina yen yes ye would tapes ni ade na say Attorney General no so say tape ne doctor da onjin tume onka say tape no onso ntumi njintum ono nso de nsem pii atudwa Sami Jemfi ono nso yenko na yenkotie no emra.
First of all, you saw the Deputy Attorney General urging on Mr. Jakpa that the conversation he had with Godfred Dame was a 26 minutes conversation. But some of their communicators have been making that argument, and that they only brought to court a 16 minutes audio recording, trying to impugn the authenticity of that tape. But Mr. Jakpa reiterated the point we have always made, and you couldn't see the Attorney General push back, which was that he recorded that 16 minutes 5 seconds tape about 9 to 10 minutes into the conversation, and there is nothing wrong with that. If you call me for a conversation, and in good faith I have the conversation with you without recording, but I see that you are proceeding on a criminal tangent, at some point I can choose to record. If I even record 1 second of that conversation, and that 1 second tape captures you committing a crime, telling me to falsify my testimony, telling me to testify to your theory and what you know to be true and not what I know to be true, telling me to procure a fake medical excuse duty and all that. It doesn't matter that it is a 1 second tape. What matters is whether or not you said what is contained on that tape. And today, Jakpa, reiterated that point very, very beautifully. Also, you saw bare denials by the Deputy Attorney General for and on behalf of his boss about the fact that the AG told Mr. Jakpa to lie about a fake medical excuse duty because he had intimated in the conversation they had that he was sick. That clearly is not borne out by the evidence because no such claim is contained on that tape. Mr. Jakpa dared them to provide that evidence if they had it, and they couldn't provide it because there is no such evidence. In the words of Mr. Jakpa, he was fit as a fiddle on the morning of 9th April 2024 and was driving to his lawyer when the Attorney General, who is supposed to be the leader of the bar and Minister of Justice, and therefore supposed to be an apostle of the ethics of the profession, told him to lie to the courts, to contrive a fake medical excuse duty and commit a crime. And today he made that point. You saw that the AG could not push back. Again, he reiterated his point that Ken Ofori-Atta and President Akufo-Addo had been mounting pressure on the Attorney General to pursue a clear case of witch hunts, and that this was what Godfred Dame told him. They sought to deny, but he reinforced it, and they could not push back with any credible, fact or evidence. Neither could they dispute the claim by Jakpa that at one of the meetings he had with the Attorney General at the residence of Justice Kolendi. The Attorney General, the Honorable Godfred Dame, actually said that fancies are cheap, and that if Honorable Ato Forson Parish that thought is convicted, they will have the opportunity to hold a by-election and influence fancies with money. Well, we have news for Godfred Dame and the MPP. Fancies are not cheap. They are very discerning, and they demonstrated that at Asenov, when in spite of the monetization and the attempt to influence them with money, they voted in line with good conscience, voted for the Honorable Jakpa. So they are terribly wrong if they think that fancies are cheap people. But I know that the good people of the central region will take these issues into consideration.
A quick one. How surprised would you say you were when you saw the Attorney General himself in the middle of cross-examination by his deputy, jumping in, taking over to go at Richard Jakpa? Were you surprised in any way? And where do you see him going with his line of questioning?
Well, I'm not surprised, because what he's doing is playing hide and seek. You see, on issues that border on assertions, evidence given about Mr. Jakpa, about the person of the Attorney General, he's running away. He's not able to bite the bullet. He's not able to stand up to Jakpa and cross-examine him. He's not able to confront Jakpa with any contrary evidence. So, Wafa lawyer, and his lawyer is either Evelyn, the DPP, or his deputy, poor deputy from my region, Tuyayeboa. So they are doing that dirty work for him, because he himself lacks the courage to confront Mr. Jakpa on those assertions that borders on his person. The man says you met him around 12 a.m. on the night of 26 March. True or false? That one, you want Tuyayeboa, poor Tuyayeboa, to do that for you? The man says you told him that fancies are cheap. The man says you told him that Kenneth Oriata and Akufo-Addo were giving you pressure to persecute Ato Forson. Tuyayeboa was not there. You and I were not there. Only Godfred Dame was there. Why can't he do that cross-examination? Always shifting the goalpost. You understand? That is the game he's playing. I was not surprised at all. Even on the issues he himself has decided to pursue under cross-examination, which is about the terms of the contracts, the role of Jakpa, and all that, he is displaying ignorance. This is an Attorney General who, you heard on that tape we released, was misconstruing a letter of credit as advance payment. Clear illiteracy. He thinks that a letter of credit that has clear condition precedence, it constitutes advance payment. Clear illiteracy. Today too, you heard him in open court suggesting that an ISO certification, which is renewed annually and which is acquired by duly incorporated entities, organizations, companies, for purposes of quality assurance. He was confusing an ISO certification with an incorporation documentation. He thinks that if you see an ISO certificate, it is a certificate of a registration of a company. This man is bankrupt in knowledge about the issues before the court. He is a walking shame, a walking embarrassment, and he continues to make, he continues to ridicule himself because he clearly doesn't understand the issues he's pushing. What does the issue about whether or not Mr. Jakpa passed a promotional examination, what does that got to do with this case? What does the issue about some so-called 68 messages which Jakpa refused to provide a court, which messages 90% constitute motivational messages that Mr. Jakpa has been broadcasting to people on his list? What is the relevance of those so-called motivational messages to the case at heart? The guy has been wasting everybody's time in court. You understand? And contriving, to the extent that they are even contriving official government documents. You saw Mr. Jakpa trying to make that point. The rules, of course, didn't allow that, and so the judge did not allow that. But I know that an opportunity will be created by his lawyers for him to make that point very forcefully. This issue about his release letter from the military and why he was released from the military and all that are issues that will be strongly contested with evidence, because Jakpa maintains that what they have brought to court is clearly fake, doctored, and contrived. But all these issues have got nothing to do with the critical issues at stake.
Ebusua enti na ne eda ho no Tuesday nyame ya adoma update ebebe nyina ye de bebremo so what ase ye de bebremo na se me de mu be kom kakra mpacho wadwenche na ya fabra se me de mu be ko eye ene Richie Jakpa ne release from service for unsatisfactory conduct say Ghana Armed Forces eyi ni free Armed Forces nim say ne ni ye bi wo ha na enso ani so ohu anu nti omoyi na free aminim se yebekom kakra. Number 1 no or said the above named officer was commissioned into the Armor Corps as a regular officer on 21st August 1998. All things being equal, the officer should have made the rank of captain on 21st August 2002 and a major on 21st August 2007. He has consistently failed his promex and now lags behind his mates in rank. Also, his service with the colors has been largely unsatisfactory, marked by consistent fraudulent conduct, abrasiveness, and general indiscipline. Now, number 2, they say, in addition, Lieutenant R. Jakpa, with the number GH 2899, has incessantly been indebted to various people or institutions during the period. Okay, an example was his long indebtedness to Reese Regent PRI to the tune of $300, which he was unable to pay till authority was sought for the amount to be deducted from his salary. Number 3, throughout his service life, Lieutenant R. Jakpa, waiting the number, no, has proved consistently that he belongs to a world incompatible with a decent and gentlemanly composure that the Presidential Commission confers on officers of the Ghana Armed Forces. He is a bad example by all standards, and his continued retention in the service is likely to cause more harm to the service and to himself. Indeed, in May 2004, a special report submitted on him by his commanding officer suggested that the officer had reached his ceiling. 3 years on, his new commanding officer describes his conduct as shameful and regrettable. In fact, Hano underlined. Underlined. Now, number 4, I just say to screen no so no. Or say, from the foregoing, the continued retention of Lieutenant R. Jakpa is not in the best interest of the Ghana Armed Forces and indeed himself. It has accordingly been decided that Lieutenant R. Jakpa be released from the service forthwith. I am therefore directed to request that, which is number 5, Lieutenant R. Jakpa be released from the service for inefficiency under Article 15, Item 2A, through continued lack of application of interest, and Item 2C, which is into bracket, unsatisfactory conduct of the Armed Forces Regulations Volume 1, into bracket, ADMI. Number 6, respectively submitted. Please. MKG Ahiaglo, Brigadier General for Chief of Army Staff. Into Richie Jakpa, the letter, just say no, and Attorney General, AEP, just say, or the cross-examine, no, just to test the integrity of Richie Jakpa, no, and non so any. Obi baby say, when you na be kahunti nana. Ebia na NDC form pese ambulance case no abekoso na nunti na omo pese omo file dien with no case na ne keka ho ana me pacho onso agenche no very important ya na dia ba yesi issues 233 so de ne abekoso bia no yeso ye de bebremo ne ya bubu mu nti ne court no ebi enie asem no court nti ye nkomu pi the integrity of persons involved no is being tested. Asam nankasa mpo de emunsan kozo na integrity any who tapes near the no. That is what is being tested. Tuesday. The case has been adjourned to Tuesday. Edruha ni besi bia no e de bebrem. Yeda wase e no wa share, no wa comment, no wa like it, no wa subscribe nso e de amaye. Yeda wase pii.